Welcome back to Whispers in the Dark, the place where real-life nightmares, urban legends, and unexplained encounters come alive. Tonight, we journey to the deceptively tranquil suburbs of Alabama, where a desperate cry for help in the dead of night became a terrifying lure into the darkness. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next terrifying tale. There's a specific kind of quiet that settles over a suburban neighborhood after midnight. A deceptive tranquility. The houses are dark, the streets are empty, and you feel a sense of insulated safety. That's the feeling I had back in October of 2021. My girlfriend Maya and I were living in a pleasant little development called Oak Creek Estates, right on the border of two small Alabama towns. That night was like any other. We were unwinding, playing video games, the low glow of the TV casting long shadows across the living room. Around 1 a.m., I decided to step outside onto our small back patio for a cigarette. The autumn air was cool and crisp. The only sounds were the distant hum of the main road and the chirping of crickets. It was peaceful. Until it wasn't. A woman's voice cut through the stillness. "Someone help me." It was thin, strained, and sounded genuinely desperate. My first thought was that it was just neighborhood noise. People have arguments, teenagers play pranks. But it continued. The same phrase over and over, for a full 5 minutes. The persistence began to gnaw at me, turning idle curiosity into genuine concern. I walked to the edge of my yard, trying to pinpoint the source. The cries seemed to be coming from a small, dark patch of woods that separated our development from the main road. My rational mind immediately offered up an explanation. A fox. I'd heard them before. They can make a sound eerily similar to a woman screaming. I almost dismissed it, ready to go back inside. But then the voice became clearer, the words more distinct. "Please help. Please, someone help." The enunciation was perfect. This was no animal. This was a person, and they sounded like they were in trouble. My concern now outweighed my caution. I started to walk towards the patch of woods, thinking I should at least investigate, but as I got closer, the screams began to move, receding away from me with an unnerving speed. They moved out of the small patch of woods and down the road about 50 yards towards another development across the street. I hesitated, then crossed the street into the other neighborhood. By now, a new theory was forming. A Halloween decoration maybe. Someone's TV turned up way too loud. It felt plausible, but it didn't explain the sense of motion. The feeling that I was standing right where the cries had first originated. I pulled out my phone and sent a quick text to Maya, just a simple, "Hey, hearing some weird stuff outside, checking it out." A digital breadcrumb, just in case. I tried to follow the screaming, but it was becoming more difficult. The voice was now distant, sporadic, always the same two phrases. It made no sense. If someone needed help, why were they moving so fast, covering so much ground? After a few minutes of fruitless searching, I decided to head home. I had only walked for a few minutes when the screaming started again, but this time it was different. It was much louder, much closer, and now I could pinpoint its location with chilling certainty. It was coming from the large, dense forest that bordered the neighborhoods, right near a tall, solitary cell phone tower that loomed over the trees like a skeletal watchman. The screams were coming from about 50 yards inside the woods, directly parallel to where I stood on the street. I froze, listening, and as I listened, I noticed the movement. I heard the snapping of twigs, the rustling of undergrowth. The sound would erupt from one spot. "Help me." And then, with an unnatural celerity, it would move 50 yards to my right, stop, and scream again. Then it would skitter back 50 yards to my left. Back and forth, back and forth, for a full 5 minutes. It only ever stopped to speak. My mind couldn't process it. No person could move that quickly through dense, dark woods. It was as if it was crawling or scuttling, staying low to the ground. I couldn't see anything, only hear the chaos of its movement and the desperation in its voice. Then the phrase changed. "Why aren't you helping me?" It screamed it over and over, the voice now tinged with a sharp, accusatory edge. The desperation was gone, replaced by a demanding, almost taunting tone. It repeated the question rapidly, incessantly, for what felt like an eternity. And then a new sound joined the chorus, a sound that made the blood in my veins turn to ice. Beneath the woman's accusatory screams, a low, guttural, grunting growl began to rumble. It was a grotesque harmony of desperation and predatory hunger. I realized with a jolt of pure terror that this wasn't my imagination. This wasn't a prank. This was something real, and it was something monstrous. The full weight of the situation crashed down on me. How long I'd been out there, how far I was from my house. This thing wasn't in trouble. This thing wasn't running. This thing was performing. It wanted me to come into the forest. It was no longer running back and forth at a 50-yard distance. The frantic movements were now in a tight 20-yard arc, and it was much closer, maybe only 10 yards from the edge of the woods. It refused to leave the tree line, but it was practically begging me to step inside. The grunting became more frequent, the movements faster, more frenzied. It was working itself into a state of agitation, impatient. Through a gap in the trees, my eyes caught a flash of movement, something low to the ground, a flash of pale, almost bone-white color, moving with that same impossible scuttling speed. It was there and gone in an instant. My fingers trembled as I fumbled for my phone. The camera button seemed to have vanished. All I could hear was that horrifying dual voice, the scream and the growl, a predator mimicking its prey. I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to my very soul, that if I went into those woods, I would not be coming out. I stopped trying to be brave. I stopped trying to understand. I just reacted. I called 911. My voice was shaking as I told the operator my location, that I could hear a woman screaming in the Hollow Creek woods. I kept my eyes fixed on the tree line, half expecting the pale shape to burst forth at any moment. And then, in the distance, I saw the faint, flashing blue and red lights of a patrol car approaching. The second the lights crested the hill, the sound stopped, not faded away, not trailed off. They ceased instantly. The woods fell into an intelligent, calculating silence. The Helena police arrived, listened to my frantic story, and swept the edge of the woods with their powerful flashlights. They found nothing, no tracks, no person, nothing out of the ordinary. They were professional, but I could tell they thought I was either drunk or mistaken. I walked home, my adrenaline leaving me shaky and cold. When I told Maya the full story, we tried to rationalize it. A kid with a boombox, a very elaborate prank. But we both knew it was a lie we were telling ourselves for comfort. Because no prank can explain that guttural growl, that impossible speed, or that sudden, terrifying silence. And that's where our chilling encounter with the voice from Hollow Creek Woods concludes. A desperate cry for help that morphed into an intelligent, predatory lure leaving behind a lasting question: what truly lurks in the shadows of those Alabama forests? What do you make of this horrifying experience? Was it a cryptid, a mimic, or something else entirely that wants you in the dark? Let me know your theories and thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If this story sent a shiver down your spine, please show your support by hitting that like button. To make sure you never miss another whisper from the dark, subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell. And if you know someone who loves a truly unsettling tale, share this story with them. Until next time, when you hear a voice in the dark, listen closely. It might not be asking for help. It might be asking for you.